How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Before I Forget. This is my video channel where I lay down all my stories of my life in music, first as a fan and then as somebody that worked in the business. This channel was inspired by my Instagram channel, 1985 Road Dog. If you go to that Instagram channel, you'll see a lot of my photos of my life in music, both as a fan and as somebody that worked in the business. That Instagram channel inspired this channel. I've written a book about my exploits and my travels in music, and I have many other writings that I'm working on, TV treatments and things like that. But the book was inspired by the Road Dog Instagram account as well. So it's all kind of tying together. This channel here on YouTube was where you'll find my video stories inspired by those photos. Today, we're going to talk about LA Guns and the filming of the music video Electric Gypsy. If you don't know, I worked for LA Guns as their road manager on their very first tour in 1988. Toured with them for about 10 months on the road straight. And at the end of that 10 months, I kind of cracked up and lost my mind and retired from touring for 10 months. Anyway, so LA Guns left in January of 1988, went out on tour, played nightclubs, played theaters, opening for Ted Nugent, opened for AC/DC and Iron Maiden in arenas, played a lot of clubs, just constantly touring. So we picked up a short leg of an Iron Maiden tour in the beginning of June 1988. And that was about 8 or 9 shows. It wasn't a long tour with Iron Maiden. So when that tour ended, we went back to Los Angeles for about a week. We had to do the band had to do some press, had to meet with some Polygram reps, and we also were going to film a video for the second single off the first LA Guns album called Electric Gypsy. The guy that filmed this video, that directed it, was Ralph Zeman. Ralph had done the previous music video for Sex Action, and he also filmed the video for the song One More Reason. And that video for One More Reason helped LA Guns get a record deal. To me, that video, One More Reason, is what LA Guns is to me. That lineup, it was the same lineup as the first album, with the only difference being that the drummer, the original drummer, Nicky Alexander, aka Nicky Beat, was fired, and then they brought in Steve Riley, who had just left Wasp or was fired from Wasp. I don't know either one, but Steve Riley came on board after the first album was recorded. So Steve's picture's on the album, but Nicky Beat played on it. But in that first video that they did for One More Reason, which is a great video, by the way. It's very, very raw, very indie, very street. Nicky Beat is in that video. He was the drummer at the time. And that video, to me, is what LA Guns is. So anyway, we're back in Hollywood. I think we played a gig at the Cat House around this time. The Cat House was it was a pickup place. That's where people went to get picked up, guys and girls. So it was a pickup bar. It was a very cool spot. You know, the Cat House was legendary Hollywood nightclub. But to play there as a gig, it was not that great. I mean, the production was not good. You know, just PA, lights, whatever. It was not very together in that respect, but it was a cool club, so everybody wanted to play there. But, you know, it was not a great production. So we did a gig at the Cat House, and then we went and we went out into the desert of California, a place called Barstow, and went out there and filmed the Electric Gypsy video. That took about, we were out there for about 14 hours, I think. And it was, you know, over 100 degrees. I don't know, it was 105 degrees, very, very hot. If you've ever seen the video, you know that the band is in the video riding motorcycles. So we had borrowed those motorcycles from some bikers from Los Angeles somewhere. We borrowed those motorcycles to film the video. At the time, LA Guns had their original manager, Alan Jones, who was like another member of the band, really. He helped them get their record deal, and he supported them for a year and paid their rents and paid their bills so they could be a band. And Alan got them the record deal. And he was a very creative person, Alan, English gentleman. But the business was sometimes a little bit too much, kind of, the being on Polygram Records would eat you up, if you weren't, seasoned manager. Polygram was a big label, Def Leppard, Kiss, Bon Jovi, Scorpions, and LA Guns was on that label. So, when it came time to film this music video, I mean, it was very like by the seat of your pants. It was a low budget. They'd worked with Ralph before, twice. Previously. They liked his videos. They liked how he worked. The price was right. And they just did their third video with the same guy, Ralph Seaman. But they borrowed these bikes. I mean, who knows? There was no insurance on the set, which became an issue. We had no insurance. So, Steve Riley's wife was out there while we were filming the video, and she was not happy that there was no insurance. I mean, these guys are riding motorcycles and filming a video going down the road with no insurance. If somebody would have crashed or gotten hurt, it would have been a problem. So she was upset about that. And, that was a big thing for a while. We had to kind of calm her down and calm everybody down. And it was really just Steve and his wife. I mean, the other guys could care less. They could care. They were just like, let's just do this. Keep in mind, Steve had just come out of Wasp, and Steve had been in a bunch of bands over the years, been in multiple bands with multiple record deals. So Steve had been around the block. He was more seasoned. He was a veteran. The other four guys in LA Guns were like, whatever, it was their first tour. They didn't care. They'd do anything. So the insurance thing, we filmed it without insurance. I mean, I don't think Mary was happy, Steve's wife, but look, we had to film the video. So we borrowed these motorcycles from these bikers. And we're in the desert of Barstow, California. There's nothing around. We're in the middle of nowhere. It's 1,000 degrees, hot, hot, hot. And these bikers are on the bus hanging out with their ladies while we're filming and using their motorcycles. I don't know if we paid them or we just gave them some T-shirts. I don't even know how that went down. But they were all hanging out on the bus. So there was, 3 or 4 bikers and 3 or 4 biker girlfriends. I mean, there was, plus when you're in the middle of the desert and you're not plugged into electric with your bus, you're running off of a generator, which means, the bus has to kind of run at the same time. The air conditioning didn't work great. It was so hot, and all these biker people are on the bus, so you can't really hang on the bus. I think I sat in a cab of a pickup truck under a tree just trying to cool off. It was so hot, and we were out there for 14 hours probably, about maybe more. So at one point, I go back on the bus to get something, and these bikers are on there, and they're watching bestiality pornography, which is like, you can't get lower than that, man. I'm like, oh, Christ, like, what could it get any lower than, these bikers are watching, humans have sex with animals. I'm like, okay, just another day on the road, I guess. But that went on, back and forth with them. It was kind of getting uncomfortable. Couldn't really be comfortable on your own bus because they'd kind of taken over. So we filmed the video, back and forth, up and down this road by trains. So they're riding next to a boxcar train, and they're filming them riding on the motorcycles next to the train. No insurance. If you look at that video really closely, you'll see there's a couple spots where Tracy accelerates on the motorcycle and he wobbles like they were close to crashing a couple times. I think the only person out of the entire band that really had ridden a motorcycle and really for any period of time was Kelly Nichols. Kelly knew his way around a bike. The rest of the guys, no clue. Maybe rode a bike once or twice. It was not good. So we all crossed ourselves and said our prayers, and the video went off without any more, problems. No one crashed. I've got some pictures from that video shoot that I'm going to post on my Instagram soon. My friend Lynn Felderman from New York had come out. She was shooting the video filming for a magazine called Faces Rocks. So Lynn, I knew from New York, she came out and took a bunch of pictures, which I'll post some of them. So that was really what happened. They just rode up and down the road and by the train over and over, and they just filmed it. That video was done really cheaply. So then we finished the video, go back into Hollywood, and stayed another day or two. I went out with Kelly Nichols. Kelly Nichols got me drunk one night and went out, and I got a tattoo on my arm, on my shoulder. I barely remember it. I was so drunk. I mean, I just walked into the Sunset Strip Tattoo, which is right across the street from the Riot House, and I just looked at the wall and picked something. Okay, give me that one. It was like a dragon, a flying dragon breathing flames. It was small. So I did that with Kelly, and we went out and got even more drunk and went out to dinner to Gladstone's, and in Malibu, and had oysters and drank. It was a fun time. So anyway, we're getting ready to leave to go back out on the road again. We had some more club dates set up. So as we're getting ready to leave Hollywood, we've been off the road now for about a week. So the bus was freshly steam cleaned, which after the bikers and their girlfriends were on the bus out in the desert watching bestiality pornography, as soon as that was over, I told the bus driver, I said, do me a favor, take this right away, get it steam cleaned. I want this thing steam cleaned and sanitized. So we're getting ready to leave Hollywood, go back out on the road, fresh bus, steam clean, nice and clean. So as we're getting on the bus, Tracy's on the front of the bus, watching a porno, a regular porno now, no bestiality. He's watching a porno, which is commonplace on the road. That's just what happened. There were VHS tapes all over the bus. So, you're watching a porno. It's rock and roll. So Steve Riley gets on the bus with his wife. She wasn't going out on the tour with us. She was just going to hang on the bus for a little while we were getting loaded and before we left, and everybody was saying goodbye to their girlfriend or their wife or whatever. So Steve and Mary get on the bus, and Tracy's watching a porno. And Steve is like, dude, don't be watching a porno in front of my wife. And Tracy's like, the fuck you talking about, man? This is rock and roll. This is my bus. Anyway, Steve and Tracy got into it over this porno thing. Steve thought, it was disrespectful for Tracy to be watching pornos in front of his wife. And Tracy's view was, this is a fucking rock and roll tour, man. And when we're going to watch pornos, I don't care whose wife is on the bus. So anyway, it got a little physical. There was a little pushing and shoving going on. I mean, it would have never gone into a full fight. I mean, Steve would have killed Tracy. I mean, there's no contest. Steve would have just destroyed him. So there's never going to be a fight, but there was some pushing and shoving going on. So I had to get in the middle of it and calm everybody down. Anyway, it delayed us leaving for about, I don't know, a couple hours, man. It was just all that drama delayed us leaving. But that was LA Guns, man. That was being on that tour with those guys that first year. It was like being in a tornado all the time. It was always knee-jerk reactions. It was never any thought. It was just like chaos at all times. I mean, there's so many stories of that tour, and so much that had to be fixed, or dealing with the cops. Or, I mean, Phil, you know, he liked to nick stuff. He liked to steal things out of truck stops and stuff like that. I mean, you know, I got Phil out of some sticky wickets, as they say, over the years. And it was always drama. It was just never calm. It was just most... But again, keep this in mind. You had 4 guys that had never really toured before. Phil Lewis had been in Girl in England, and he toured a little bit, but it's not like touring America. I mean, you know, you're on the road for 10 months. So those guys really didn't tour, whereas Steve Riley had been on tour with Wasp, and Wasp were managed by Sanctuary, who had Iron Maiden. So he was used to living a rock star lifestyle, good hotels and all that kind of stuff. Whereas the other 4, they would have slept outside in the sleeping bag, you know. I mean, they didn't care. So there was a lot of tension, you know. The guys didn't care about hotels, but Steve wanted to stay in the best hotel. So, you know, there's a lot of tension with that. It was really stressful. You know, there was always something going on. But that's rock and roll. Is not a job for everyone. You know, in 10 months, I think I slept maybe 3 hours a night, maybe. So after 10 months of this, I was burnt out, you know. It's just nonstop craziness. You know, so that's pretty much the story there. There wasn't a ton to tell about the Electric Gypsy video, but it was filmed in 14 hours with no insurance, small budget, borrowed motorcycles from bestiality, pornography watching bikers, and, you know, just try to keep everybody on an even keel. I look at that video and I'm immediately brought back to that time, all 105 degrees of it. But that kind of represents LA Guns as well. But if you really want to see a video that really represents what LA Guns really was, what got them signed to Polygram Records, watch One More Reason. That's LA Guns. We all know there's been many versions and many members and all that, but when I met them in 1987, that's what LA Guns was, the One More Reason video. Thanks so much for watching. There'll be a lot more stories with LA Guns. You know, I have so many pictures. I've got a lot of pictures I could never post because I just can't. But, you know, there's going to be a lot more LA Guns stories because there's so many. There's going to be a lot more coming. I really appreciate you watching and caring. My Instagram, 1985 Road Dog. That's where you'll find all my photographs that inspired this video channel. Keep tuned in. Keep being tuned in here. And once again, I record these straight through. I don't stop. I don't edit. I don't do anything. I just record them. I yap. I push stop, and I post it for you guys. So thanks so much for watching and tuning in. There'll be more to come. Appreciate your following me, you guys. Be well. Rock on.